Hi, my name is Carlos Reynosa. I would like to take the opportunity to thank Benji Cole and Jonathan White for inviting me again back in the People of Distinguished with Benji Cole. And now, the interview.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Carlos Reynosa. And we're going to be discussing Carlos's impressive book, Night of the Phantom. Now, let's take a quick pause here, because, listen, I know a lot of you listening in right now, you're like, Benji, wait, hold on a second, man. Carlos Reynosa, Night of the Phantom. Benji, that sounds familiar. And if it does, you guessed it. Carlos is a returning guest. And listen, man, you all really have to pay it forward to all of you. Now, I remember having a wonderful discussion with Carlos, but I also was listening to all of you, because you kept reaching out about how moved, how impressed you were. It was a no-brainer. We had to invite him back. Now, previously when Carlos was with us, we discussed his book, Night of the Phantom, episode 1. Well, since that time, Carlos has been putting in some work, okay? And now he is back to discuss his newest book in the series, Night of the Phantom, episode 2, Consequences of the Phantom. It's Amazon. It's Barnes & Noble. Most importantly, it's author carlosreynosa.com. Man, put it in a search bar and be greeted with all of the places. And listen, if you happen to be from my neck of the woods, you're on the East Coast, you find yourself down there in New Jersey, I'm gonna point out a couple of other places that you can actually go to physically and pick it up. I know it's not really a popular thing nowadays. Everything is online. We've gotten so lazy. But listen, check out Source of Knowledge in Newark, New Jersey. Check out Little Boho in Beyond, New Jersey. And then also the Reading Glass Books in Cookstown, New Jersey. If you happen to be there, check it out. For everybody else, yeah, it's author carlosreynosa.com. Head on over there. Pick up your copies today. Now listen, we're just going to move right along and we're diving right in, man, because I'm excited to speak to Carlos, man. His book is something that's going to keep you at the edge of your seat. Like, yeah, maybe, I know it's not just me, okay? I know it's got to be all of you as well. Have you ever had that feeling where you finish a book and the characters, man, the characters, they just stick with you. They're in your mind. You want to know what happened. Where did they go after that last sequence? If you can relate, that is exactly where we are. You see, our main protagonist here in Night of the Phantom, Nick, he's back, all right? His life is more complicated than ever, and we are thrilled to have Carlos here to unpack this electrifying next chapter. We're going to get into the new threats. We're going to talk about the tangled relationships, the shocking, quote-unquote, no pun intended, consequences of wearing the mask, and so much more, man. Consider this your official spoiler alert to a certain degree. We're not going to give it all away. We may be touching up on some things. Sit back, strap in. Here we go. Carlos, first and foremost, man, welcome back to People of Distinction. And thank you for being a guest with us. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me back.
Of course. Yeah, listen, again, as I mentioned, man, I thoroughly enjoyed our previous conversation, but my listening audience, they wouldn't let me do anything otherwise, man. They were definitely strongholding me into it, and they made sure I did just that. We're looking forward to this discussion. First and foremost, man, what have you been up to since the last time we spoke?
I've been good since the last time we spoke. I've been promoting Night of the Phantom episode 1, making it available online and in bookstores, and enjoying the experience and friendship along the journey.
I bet. Listen, it's a wonderful roller coaster of a ride. And from someone that's an artist, but like I was never given the gift of writing. but I'm a filmmaker by trade and I live in my imagination. So I can just imagine how exciting this has all been as it's transpired and come to fruition in this way. What inspired you to continue developing this journey of Night of the Phantom?
There's a lot of stories that I hope to bring to the world, but the reason why I continue Night of the Phantom, the series, is that to thank the readers and the loyal supporters who were patient and were waiting for the next book, and to show how dangerous perception can be when it's misused throughout these adventures.
Listen, before we go further into episode 2, I think it's probably best for those people that happen to miss the previous occasion you were with us. Let's do a quick recap, man. Tell us about episode 1.
Nick Zartel is a teenager in New York who lives based on everyone's perceptions. To the students, he's a bully. To the bullies, he's a target. To the teachers and the principal, he's a troublemaker. To his mother, he's someone dangerous. And with the powers given to him, the question was, does he prove them right or does he prove them wrong?
Yeah.
We have Night of the Phantom episode 2, The Consequence of the Phantom. The question is going to be, can he live with the decisions he made from episode 1?
Okay. All right, Carl, listen, man. Let's go into episode 2 now, because first and foremost, I want to start with the title. The title emphasizes consequences, which is very compelling because I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go, especially when you know about episode 1, when you know more about Nick and about the superpower that he has, right? Listen, most superhero stories, they focus on an act of heroism, but yours focuses on the aftermath. How does Nick's journey in this book redefine what it means to, quote unquote, win a fight if the personal cost is so devastating?
It's not so much as win a fight or win a victory. It's more like responsibilities of your actions. It doesn't matter if you get the right thing or you did the wrong thing. It's a matter of, are you willing to accept the price, pay the price for it? Are you willing to accept the consequences? Now, sometimes the consequence is good, sometimes the consequence is bad. But if you're not able to be responsible for it, then you should be taking these actions in the first place.
Another concept that is brought up in your book is the blurred lines between good and evil. And this really, I have my own perception on it, but before I jump off and I start spewing my beliefs with it, give us an example of a choice that Nick makes that is morally good for the city, but maybe ethically gray or even downright bad for someone that he loves. And how does he live with that dissonance?
Nick did avenge his mother's death, but he did it by defeating a major gang in New York, causing a turf war. He got rid of Ice, the bully, but even though he was just one bully, he created a void among the school, causing Lindy, the girl he loves, to be in constant danger. And there are other characters and scenarios where both Nick and the Phantom morals are questioned, leading the bigger question, can he handle it?
Carlos, thank you very much for that, man. And listen, I know I can hear my listening audience already. Man, you brought up Ice. You introduced him to the conversation, and he was, man, it was a very popular point of discussion for our listening audience. And people, listen, I understand the correlation, and I am right there with you. And a lot of the comments that we were receiving, like, how ironic that we have this bully in episode 1 that is named Ice. And then we see this rogue militia here in the United States that would, I guess commonly also be viewed as bullies, identified as Ice as well. Stark contrast. Now, this was written years ago, well before the Ice that we currently know today. But how ironic is that? I know in addition to Ice, Carlos, there's also something you'd like to clarify with regards to 9/11 and some references that people have made in the prologue with regards to episode 1. So before we go any further, let's take a quick detour. Tell us a little bit more about Ice. Tell us a little bit more about the prologue from episode 1 and help us clarify some things that are some assumptions that people generally make.
I wrote this when I was in grade school because I loved superheroes. I loved Greek mythology, so I wanted to write my own story. And these were just blueprints when it first came out. This was, which of course was years before the situations happened. Unfortunately, over the years, the words changed, the symbols behind it changed. that's the way of life. But I have no intention writing these stories to hurt anyone or to be insensitive to anyone. I'm just here to try to get people to learn about perception, consequences of those perceptions, and enjoy a good story.
Carlos, listen, man, one of the things that I have really been wanting to dive into and ask is Nick's power, man. Like, hypnotic power is fascinating to me. And also, of course, it's morally ambiguous, right? Because my goodness, what you could do with that, right? Like, it's with great power comes greater responsibility, and there is no denying it when it comes to this one. How do you explore the consequence of Nick using this power, man? Does wielding influence over others' free will inevitably corrupt the wielder, or can it be a tool for pure good?
All the Phantom's powers will be tested and questioned as they were in episode 1, and each one can be corruptible. How Nick would know the difference is part of the journey that we take with our fingers crossed.
In other words, people, we ain't telling you nothing. All right. You got to pick up the book. You got to figure it out for yourself, man. And listen, baby, if you're like me, you envision all the ways that it can be used. Cause I think that's where a lot of the fun lies, is examining like how this could really tilt one way or the other. I love it. Let's move to the villain in this one. Okay. Because in episode 2, we're introduced to a completely new one. And I think I'm definitely someone, as I mentioned, background in filmmaking. Like, I'm someone that is heavily into a lot of this Marvel cinematic universe that we're currently in. And I've never been like a huge comic book person, but I'm invested, right? And I recognize that throughout all of them, like a hero is often defined by their villain. I'm curious, man, what mirror does Windows Pete hold up to Nick? And in what ways are they almost two sides of the same coin, both using power and influence to control the world around them?
I don't know if Windows Pete will ever be the Phantom's Joker or Lex Luthor, but I do agree a good villain does mirror the hero because it's a matter of a coin toss. Windows Pete is more experienced with his powers. Both characters live based on their perceptions. Nick's perceptions, however, makes him insecure, and he tries to control the narrative, which explains why everything goes wrong. Whereas Windows Pete embraces the perceptions, the labels, the reputation, the labels, and becomes more comfortable with his actions.
Yeah. Sticking here with Windows Pete for a second, one of our listeners, they really love the name. And I agree. Listen, Windows Pete is... There's something there that it's creative. Definitely it sticks out, right? That's one that you'll remember long after. They're really interested as well. And they want to know, what was the inspiration for this character? And was he always meant to be a mob boss? Or did you consider other types of antagonists for this book?
I'm very surprised everyone liked the name Windows Pete. I was struggling to find the name for him. But I didn't want to throw the Phantom with heavy-hitting villains because he's still inexperienced. He's still learning as it is. I know, and each villain, there's always a lesson to that. So I created one to match his level, and when the Windows Pete, you also understand how perception is being used in his background.
A message, or I guess a pivotal aspect of the book, not only in episode 1, but also carries through in episode 2, Carlos, is the mystery of Nick's mother's death. Okay, it's a key driver for the character. Without revealing the answer, of course, how does investigating her past force Nick to confront the person that she was versus the idolized memory that he holds?
I believe by solving the mystery of his mother's death, he will have a better understanding who she was and why she raised him the way she raised him. He knows his mother loved him. He just doesn't understand why she was so afraid of him and why she had a negative perception of him.
Carlos, it's only fitting, man, since the listening audience was such a big driving force on having you back on the network. It's only fitting to close out with another one of their questions, man. And this one is coming from another writer. And they're curious to know, man, like, when they're going through their projects, and this is something that I recognize as well as an artist, although I'm in a different medium, is the work never seems to be done. There's always more that you want to change, that you want to add, that you want to alter. And it's your creation, man. You care a lot about it, so you're always looking at different ways to revitalize it. Our listener wants to know, if you had an opportunity to go back and change one thing about episode 1, now that you've written episode 2, Consequences, what would that be and why?
I've been advised about certain scenes from readers, how they would do it differently, and it made me doubt it too. I want to change, maybe I should have just changed this. But then I remember why I wrote those scenes and wrote those lines in the first place, and they can't go anywhere else without those scenes being done first. So I have to stick with my gut and cross my fingers and hope I made the right decisions.
Man, you preach it to the choir, Carlos. I'm right there with you. You never quite know until you close it out and you put it out for the public and just see the response that you receive. Life of an artist, man, I tell you. People, listen, the conversation has just begun. I promise you there's so much more. You know where you got to go. All right. Again, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, author CarlosReynosa.com. If you happen to be in New Jersey, check out the bookstores. Do a search on it. Listen, the information is there. All you got to do is type it into a search bar and be greeted with it. We discuss Night of the Phantom Episode 1, as well as the newest book in the series, Night of the Phantom Episode 2, Consequences of the Phantom. You got to pick up your copies. Start with Episode 1, move on to Episode 2, and hopefully, fingers crossed, there's an Episode 3 and Episode 4, Episode 5, 6, and 7. Man, they're just going to keep on coming, because this is a series. I'm not just saying it, man. Like, you're not going to be able to put it down. You are going to gravitate towards it, and you're going to have so much fun while you're doing it. It starts today. Pick up your copies, man. Carlos, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion. Keep up the wonderful work. Hopefully there's more on the horizon. And once again, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you for having me again.